Okay, so we should be good to go. Let's take a look at what Jaden wants us to look at. GU. I'm just going to clean up my charts here. And make sure you go to this one here and just start new ones from scratch. There we go. I don't know if some of you guys caught last week's session. I know that you guys took the I think it was a GU trade, which literally kicked in right at the end and maxed out at 5R. That was an interesting one. So let's see if we can find anything for the day or in this live stream and hopefully take advantage of that. How's my sound, guys? Can you guys hear me clearly? Okay. So on the daily, on GU, we've got a bit of an interesting area here. Okay, so it's safe to say we've got quite a number of liquidity at the bottom, and we don't want to be there when it's taken. We might want to wait for it to be taken first, then we can hop in from there. Awesome sound is good, Sipo. Awesome, Pepe. Let's get on it. And of course, we've got a downward momentum here from this point one going down here. These zones are holding. So it'll be a bit of a tricky one, but we could find something in here. We could find something decent in here. Okay, let's hop on to the lower time frame. Just let's see what's going on. Bear in mind, we still have this bigger time frame liquidity at the bottom. So we do have a lot of stops here at the bottom, a lot of orders here. So when they get taken out, we should definitely be waiting for that to happen before we take a dramatic entry into that setup. But from the looks of it, I actually don't think it's going to be taken anytime soon. So I'm going to hop onto a lower and just see how it looks in there. Massive one over there, dropping lower. So I'm basically refining this zone that I think price is most probably going to bounce from. If not this one here, there's another potential zone we can work with. This is a bit too high. So let's go back to the hourly and just see what's going to happen here. So ideally, you'd want to look at this whole area to the upside and this 3148 level holding. And I think if you guys did watch last week's setup, you would have known that we don't use limit orders. We are focused on literally just looking at stop orders. And that's to avoid situations like this, where you get triggered into a trade, price comes in, takes some liquidity, and then goes back up again, or even goes down. So you just try, by all means, to limit those types of losses. We don't really deserve them. So that's how to approach it, to the top side, of course, because I think there's still a bit of work that has to be done here. And potentially when we do get a downward momentum, it will be from the daily. So it'll be something like this. So we could get price basically ravaging the zone either now or later. So we could have it ravaging here, coming back again, take some orders, and then dropping further. So we could see something like this happening. But I think there's still going to be a bit more liquidity being created here at the bottom. And if that happens, then we could get a nice push to the upside. And remember, you want to keep your stop loss range as tight as possible, just so that you can get into break even sooner than later, which allows you to basically milk as much of the move as possible. Let's just see how the 5 minute is looking. Nope, that's still fine. Okay, so we'd have a setup that looks like this. And just look at the stop loss range, 14, 17 pips, still a bit too much for my liking. So what I'll probably do is just go halfway off this level. And you can keep it here, by the way, guys. It allows you to have room to breathe as well. It's just that now the setup will have to go all the way up here for you to break even. Whereas if you have your range in here, so you'll have something like that. This is how I would approach it. And of course, have your alert in the middle here, which basically means once price does drop in here, triggers our alert, will trigger a buy stop, and of course wait for price to get kicked in, and then start managing it from there. So until we get the alert, GU will be out for now. We're not looking at it. We are done. And then, so this is how the setup would look. And of course, you're targeting these zones here. So it'll look like that. And if price does not get to the zone here, then it is confirming our bearish move from the daily, going downwards to drop below this liquidity area here. And of course, tank further, but it still has some imbalances here at the top. Yeah, I think we are good. We're good to go with this one. Okay, perfect. Moving forward, gold. I said Nick De Silva wants us to look at gold. And Chatkin wants us to look at UJ. Okay, gold is an interesting one. I was looking at it on the bootcamp earlier with one of the students, of course. It's an interesting that we'll be focusing on as well for the week. I'm just going to erase this so we can have clean charts and have a process-driven approach that you guys can follow with us. Awesome. So with gold, we did have this area here at the bottom, which according to us was an area of interest. It's an area we need to really watch. We had price break this zone over here. So assuming that our next point of entry will probably be at the top, or this one, it could react, but from a bigger time frame, we are seeing it going to the 2072 level. Let's hop onto a 4-hour and just see if we can find an OB to trade from. And based off this level alone, this recent price action here, we can actually start looking at, just going to show you quickly, looking at this OB over here, not OB, sorry, this breaker structure over here on the 4-hour, and actually look at this massive candle. I don't like the wick, by the way, but look at this massive candle. Still on the 4-hour, by the way, guys, which gives us this range to work with, meaning we are looking at trades below this point over here. So below here, we're looking for buys and a decent OB. Some people can get in here, but that's only if you are looking to go above that's if you're looking to go and trade your 1Rs, which are not really ideal. They kind of put you in an awkward position between you and finding with the markets, which doesn't really work for you. So you don't want to do that. I see Dim says I'm going to explain my logic. Yeah, no emotions. Definitely going into logic. Definitely. It's a process-driven approach that we're using here. From here on, what you're looking for, it's an OB that you can trade from, which has not been mitigated. And so far, we don't see anything there. We can drop into the lower time frames until we can find a decent one, which would be this one over here. This will give you a good stop loss range. But like I keep saying, even from the last stream, try and incorporate these lows here, which kind of gives you a bit of room to breathe as well. We can go further, refine further. But now the more you refine further, the higher chances of getting wicked out are. So we can leave it at that point over there. Go back into the hourly, and you'd have this approach to the upside, of course, base of structure, order blocks, and so forth. There you go. So you'd have something like this. And of course, the number one rule, never ever use limit orders, only stops. Try use momentum to get into your setup. So you'll have something like this, targeting that zone over there. And of course, always looking to get into a setup from the bottom and allowing yourself to move your stops instead of partialing too soon. And of course, our alert right in the middle, which is where we'll be getting into the setup to place a buy stop. And of course, allowing momentum to shift in and kick you in the setup, going all the way to the top. I still think the stop loss range is still also a bit too big, 650. There we go. I think we're good from here. Let me just put it here. Perfect. Then let's drop the alert right there. And the reason I'm doing that, guys, is just to limit the amount of work that the move has to be before you can get into break even and start making a bit of profits from there. And of course, we are using some limit order approach to avoid getting wicked out of positions. And that's how I would approach this based off the 4-hour structure. Let's go into the 15, because I know one chap did try to look at it from this point of view. So you had this liquidity right here over at the top, and we had this massive POS over here. So basically expecting price to come back into this level and hold because we are targeting this level over here. So something like that. And because of the time frame here, you're going to have an even tighter stop, 113 pips, give or take. But also remember now to be careful with this one. And I'll tell you now, because of, let me just mark this quickly, have our alert there as well. And because of going to this zone over here, the liquidity that's laying here at the top, we could find price basically breaking up first before tanking. So that's why I stick to using stop orders and avoid those type of situations. So this is a two that we did look at gold earlier on. And we'll see how they play out. Stick to the rules and you'll be fine. Don't get out of trades too soon. Only move stop to break even at 1R. Then start partialing from 3R. Someone also asked me about that last week. Let me just answer it quickly. Okay, I didn't move this. Sorry. There we go. So with this setup here, the second setup, once you get into your trade, once price gets to the 967.004, you'll basically move your stop to break even. And then once price moves to 3R, which is somewhere here at the 1974, you either close half the trade or just move your stop to 2R. It's all up to you. And then from here on, which is what I usually advise, you only move it twice from stop to break even, and only when it hits 5R, somewhere in here, where you look at closing half the trade and moving stop to 3R. Then from there, you just keep moving it every 2 to 3R, allowing yourself to keep taking as much of the trade as possible and leaving your TP open. So that's the approach that we'd like to use. We always prefer to use and stick to that. Okay. Moving forward, so this one is approaching a zone. So I'll just give it a couple of moments. Once it does, we'll come back into it, hop into a lower time frame, either your 5 or 1 minute, and just keep watching what it does to the downside. That'll be a third confirmation, by the way. And once it does give us some good momentum, we place our sell stops. Okay, hope that makes sense. I see Jade wants us to look at CADJPY as well, and EURUSD. We will do that. Okay, let me just zoom into this. Okay, just gonna screenshot this as well for signals, guys. Okay, and of course the bigger one. So we have something like that. Awesome. EURUSD. Only starting with the daily. You always want to see where price is and what it's doing. And from this level alone, you can see a very nice bearish move. Based off this BOS over here on the daily. So we should expect this zone to hold from this massive one over there. Okay, which means we could be looking at this. This is from the daily, by the way. This is from the daily. Guys, don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to like the stream. So on the daily alone, this one will probably trigger sometime in the week or next week. So you can keep it in your books. And yeah, just keep watching it until you see price getting into this area. And when it does get into that area, then you do look at price dropping it further into the stop loss range. Sorry about that. There we go. This is on the daily. I keep repeating this is on the daily. So this is one of those pairs that you just mark and you let price get into that zone. And when it does, you start focusing on it. Or when it gets closer to it, you start focusing on it and just wait for it to get in there. Halfway through, place your sell stop and then allow it to tank there with you. Or what you can do, which is what I was showing you guys last week, is once it gets in there, drop to a lower time frames, your 15, 30, even lower. Look for structure to the downside, and of course, look at placing the trade from there. And that's on the daily. And then let's just hop into the 4 hour because we did establish that we are on like beautiful downward momentum here. So now the question is, how do we take advantage of that? Okay, so we had this wick out here, which is a bit too close for my liking. Do see this nice downward momentum. And let's look at this 1 hour. Yeah, I think for now, because of this distance, I probably want to focus on this area and refine it to the very least. I'll just show you now quickly. Refine it to the very least. Let's see on the 15 how it looks. And hopefully get something decent from there. We need unmitigated candles here. It's a bit too busy in here. Let's hop onto lower, even lower. There we go. Yeah, I think the nearest one you could use would be this one over here. Now that'll also create a bit of issues for you. Most of these, okay, even that one, I think that's a better one to use. There you go. It's high enough. Also this one, by the way, doesn't mean you can't use it. It just means now, and also another one here, just too low, and I'll tell you why. Just make that like that. Because what you're trying to do from this BOS over here, from this BOS over here, we are looking at, just move this a bit. It's an hourly, by the way. From that BOS over there, you're looking at this massive distance to work with, or you can also look at this one to work with. But ideally, I'd look at the worst case scenario one, which would be this one. And what we're basically waiting for is the price to retrace into that level and come back. And the only reason why I didn't use this one is because it's such a minor retracement. If I do use that one, it would mean me basically, let me just show you guys quickly as well, me focusing on this zone here, which means I need to focus on this area, which then means going down further into the lower time frame to refine this setup. I'll probably need to find an OB to use inside here. And if we go into the 5, nothing decent there. Go on to this, nothing decent there. So you could find price actually coming into the zone right now, the zone that we're looking at here, and dropping from there, which I would not trade, by the way. There's not enough evidence, enough reason to do it for me. Some do jump in. And also because of this distance, if I was trading it, say, for example, from this level up until here, 27 pips, and if you have a 5 to 10 pip stop loss range, that means your target would be 1 to 3. And if you do have a bad trade, only hitting 1 to 1, or even going worse, is not something I'd want to watch. So that's why I prefer using this range over here, looking at price reacting here again, which is a 46.45, and going below the 5 pip stop loss range, then we could get something decent. So your first trade would be along these lanes here, going all the way to the downside, of course. And then down here again. Down here again, would have something like that. So you'd have these two potential setups. And as you can see, this one's target would be 20R, still focusing on price reacting at the zone. Remember, it could break through. We're just not counting on it. And also this one, 17R, also targeting the zone, which could break through, also not depending on it. And what this means now is once price gets into these levels here, just going to mark them quickly. I'll just prefer using just above that wick so we can get a bit of room just in case price decides to go AWOL on us. Okay, so in this instance, once price gets into this level, of course, we'll start watching it. So I'm just going to put an alert. We'll start watching it so you can have it here. I prefer it on the upper side, just so that I can be focusing on it when it's actually working and when it meets my conditions. And I can just adjust the setup from there. So once price does get in, follow the rules, allow it to get into the stop loss range, watch what it does on the lower time frame, using a stop order. And then, of course, this will be a sell stop. And then, of course, managing it accordingly. Getting getting to break even at 1R, manage at 3R, 5R, and moving forward from there. And if you are a bit aggressive like me, only look at break even and then 5R and then grow from there. So that is something that you'd want to see. So those that did follow the GU trade from last week, I think I did notify that we had 5R, close off the trade, move your stop to 3R. And of course, it came back to hit that, but it was a decent move from there. So that's where we are now on EURUSD. We've got our alerts in place. So let's watch. I'm just going to mark it as well. I see someone, Mutudi. Do I have a YouTube channel? Yes, I do. I'll just drop it there. Yeah, I think you guys can just check it out from there. That's about it, actually. Let's move on to the next page. Don't forget to like the stream, guys. Don't forget to like the stream so it can keep us coming and going. CADJPY, or almost Mr. UJ. Sorry about that. UJ and then CADJPY. Let's see what those have in store for us. UJ. Let's go into the daily. I think the one thing I don't like about UJ is that it always moves extremely aggressive, as in I seldom see it coming back to my zones, and that usually just annoys me. But yeah, it just moves, and I don't want to trade it from halfway points. But yeah, okay, let's look on the hourly. 30-minute. Yeah, you see these moves that it does here. I hope you guys can see my screen. Just make it bigger, sorry. These type of moves, it goes aggressively in and then tanks from there and then back up again. So I don't really like those type of moves, and the retracements are not big enough for me to focus on. So I think from this alone, okay, let's see how the weekly is then. It broke this zone here. So the next point of entry would be probably targeting this level here. Just looking at the left side, by the way, which is extremely old, by the way, extremely old. But yeah, so you probably look at it targeting this level. But now my issue is there's too much room to the downside for it to retrace first, to come back up before going in from that level. So I wouldn't trade this pair, by the way, guys. I honestly wouldn't right now. If I did, I'll probably look at this area here and wait for price to retrace first into a decent R, because there'll be literally no candles to use unless you want to use these types, which are not really good to work with. But I would not trade this one, guys. I honestly wouldn't. I'm just trying to give you guys an approach that you could use. And remember, now you're targeting an area that's extremely far. And this is probably the last decent retracement that we had. This one as well here. So these two candles here are not really my favorite. So you'd want to look at it from this point or this one here. But like I said, guys, I would not trade it. So yeah, let's jump on to the next one. I see there's a GA, CADJPY as well. Awesome. Let's look at CADJPY and GA. Remember, we still have these pairs that we have got our alerts on. So we're literally just waiting for them to trigger. And once they do, then we can definitely hop on and try to focus on them. Until then, we don't touch them. We don't look at them. We literally just, keep our distance. Okay. So CADJPY and GA. Take a look at those. Let's see what CADJPY has in store for us. See it broke through a weekly zone. It's also very aggressive. JPY is seeing some flames, probably in the news, but it is seeing some flames. There's a massive move to the top side. We had a POS over there. I'll probably focus on this area. Let's look at the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, we're getting a bit of a okay, so with this one, let me just do that. You'd have these two levels. Probably focus on this one as well. And I'll just tell you guys why. Oh, do you guys want me to pass on the links onto the chat for these zones that I'm looking at? Okay, I'll do that. Okay, so with this one here, yeah, so you'll be looking at it from these two perspectives, by the way, guys. So you're looking at the daily move to the upside from this order block here at the bottom. And of course, when you scroll down to the 4 hour and hourly, you still find structure and you find a decent OB to work with, which is this one here that I found based off, I'll just show you quickly, based off this area here, this candle here. So it looks like that. And of course, when we refine it further, we start making it smaller and smaller until we can find a decent one to work with. Most of these are mitigated. The nearest one that's not is this candle here. Let me just make it bigger so you guys can see. So we'll have something like that. And then it would look more like this. Okay, this candle is still a bit valid. We do have this one here as well. So let's do that. And then go lower into the time frames. This one is still valid, just got a bit smaller because of the time frames. This one is not valid anymore. This one here is mitigated, so I'd actually not even look at it. But now the lows is what I'm interested in. And then you'd have something like that on CADJPY. And remember, guys, always make sure you don't use limit orders. So when price does come in to tank, don't try to catch it. Wait for it to give you some signals. Wait for it to react at your zone. And once it does react on your zone, then you get in from that point and go for it. So you have these two setups on this level. So from our point of view, you have these two sections here. You have the two up there based off the hourly and the 4 hour, and of course the lower time frames. And then you've got these ones here. This is based on the daily, and of course trade from there. So with this one, I'll probably have an alert somewhere there, and then I'd have an alert from the first one here, which basically means when price does get in here, if it does smash through this and invalidates my setup, I can wait for the second one before I go to the upside. So just bear that in mind. And remember, guys, always use limit, don't use limit, use stops. I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So moving forward, we've got an alert here. Look at this massive imbalance here. We should see price basically tanking from there, but I'll see how that works. Guys, don't forget to like the stream as well. I'll keep reminding you guys, like the stream so you can grow. And this is the setup on CADJPY. And then moving forward, somebody just asked me to share these. 400 pips down on GJ. You're only aiming for 30 pips. That's not good. And those are, I just shared you guys the charts, the trading view charts there. So you can take a look. There we go. Shared all the charts that we just did now. You guys can follow them. And remember, follow the rules. Don't just trade them naked. Don't just use limit orders. Wait for price to get into the zone. And once it does, then only do you look at trading that. So until that happens, always stay out of the setup. Okay. Moving forward. Okay, did I do the last one? No, I didn't. Let me just paste it here. So I just shared most of the charts. I hope that helps. If it does, yeah. Okay, let's see. I see somebody wants us to look at NAS 100 and GA and of course NZD franc. Let's take a look at what we've just done so far and see what we can find there. Okay, this one is definitely out. Now this is an old one actually. Sorry about that. Move that. GU. There we go. GU. It has to come into the zone before we can look for the buy. Gold. It's playing around here, but we do have two setups. So it needs to get into that zone at the top before we go for the sell, or the zone at the bottom before we go for the buy. And then EURUSD, we need it at the top for the downward momentum. And of course, we have this massive one here on the daily. And then CADJPY. We'll wait for this. Will probably take a while to trigger, but might not even trigger. It could actually be going high. So we'll just stay out from that one. Okay, GA. Let's look at what GA does. And I see Jeff wants us to look at NZD franc. Let's see what we've got on GA. Always starting at the top. Always want to see what's happening on the daily. Mark your sensitive areas. Try to see what's happening there. So we had this break of this one here, all the way to this downside. Always looking to the left to see what's been happening. So it did take a whole lot of liquidity just now. Okay, and then we have the zone here. And that one over there. Let's see what the 4 hours looking like. Let's see what the 4 hours looking like. And then we can definitely hop on from there. Okay. So let's go to the daily. Okay, so to watch this recent action here on the daily, you would focus on this zone here and of course refine it a bit further. There's also something happening to the upside on the daily, and I'll show you now quickly. So we'd have something along these ranges, something here and over here. Go into an hourly there. Okay, I'll watch that one. Go back into, this is the daily, by the way, guys. I see somebody else asking there. I think Tamed that is asking anything on the daily. So usually that's what I do. I'll start with the daily so I can pick out areas that I'd want to trade from the daily, kind of like what I'm doing now. And then once I've got these areas, then I go deeper into price, into your 4 hour, 1 hour, to try to see if I can find other beautiful areas to focus on and allow myself to trade. So that's what I'll do. And based off this one here, there's on the daily, you've got this area that you're working with this Sorry about that. Put the wrong one there. You've got this area that you're working with. Of course, you're targeting the zones here. And remember, always target for higher R's, meaning tighter stops, just so that you can have a higher chance of getting at least a decent 3R, at least. Okay, so you'd have this one, and then you'd have this approach here. I'd look at both. So I'm just going to keep them both like that, which will allow us to have some room to play with. So we'd have something along these lanes, and then it would look like that. And then I'm just going to show you guys again on the daily with GA. There was this, sorry, man. Okay, let me just move this a bit to the right. Okay, so in GA, if you guys did look at it a bit further, we had this zone here. Even this one here, completely dismantled. And once it was, in that process, we had this move to the upside, a bit of retracement, upside here, retracement here, upside again, which is very relevant to us. So what I want us to do is to watch what it does moving forward. So if it does give us a retracement and then it breaks that retracement, we are going to have another area of interest because we could see a potential reversal happening. But until that happens, we can't really watch it. So we need to see a new higher low being formed before we can look at this area to get a decent move to the upside, targeting these entry points that we have there, and of course tank from there. So those are the ones that you'd watch. Hopping now to the lower time frame here. Okay, 4 hour. Don't forget to like the stream, guys. Just keep liking and boosting our work here. Okay, so with the lower time frames, I don't think I'll trade them as well. Let me just take a look at this. Go even further down. No, I would not trade the lower ones. I'll just focus on the daily ones and just see what they'd have in store for me. So from this pair alone, you're looking at something that you will be holding for a while. You're looking at something that will not trigger anytime soon. It is a probable trade. So just put your alerts on it. And when price does hit these levels, just drop into the chart, go into the lower time frame, watch what it does on the lower time frame, use your stop orders, use momentum, and allow the trade to trigger in, managing it from 1R, 3R, 5R, and trying to take as much from it as possible. So always try and do that. Don't cut your trades too soon. That's a deadly move that a lot of people will do. Okay. Awesome. I see Vicious asking what's our YouTube channel. I shared the link at the top there just before I shared the trading view charts. Take a look at that. I see, right here. There's the link, of course. Well, those are YouTube links. And I know that one of you guys wants us to look at NZD Swiss franc and CADJPY. I'll definitely look at that. There's the link for my YouTube. Don't forget to like, guys. Don't forget to like. It'll keep us going and sharing as much as we can. So we've got 3 pairs to look at. I see Nick is asking, do I use partial TPs? Yes, I do actually. I do. I always do. I always take partials. I just take them pretty deep in the trade. So I'd usually move to break even sooner, which is at 1R. And then once price hits my 5R, then I'll drop and close half the trade, leave half the trade, but move my stop to 3R and allow price to get to at least 8R. Then I'd move the stop to 5R. And as it keeps going, I'll just keep adjusting the stop and following it. So I'm basically trailing it. And I'll get kicked out from there. Seldom close it manually. When I do, it's because I see something on the charts. And then I'll either close it 3R or so. Awesome. So let's look at NZD Swiss franc. I know it was asked a couple of minutes ago. Okay, so on the daily, we do have this beautiful downward momentum. We had this fake breakout here. But now, if you look at it from a higher time frame, by the way, guys, I'm just going to show you something else over here that you must always bear in mind, that you are trading in higher time frame structure. So if you look at it from a weekly time frame, you had that BOS over there on the weekly. You had that zone holding, which is a high. You had a lower high, which potentially means we are already in an OB on the weekly. Trade probably triggered already. It's gone, targeting this break. This is on the weekly. And then when you go deeper into price, going into the daily, you see now we had this minor structure happening inside here. And we're not trading weekly, so I'm just going to leave that on for now. But just so that you know, on the weekly, we are going down. And on the weekly, we are targeting this level. So meaning whatever's happening inside the weekly here would be pushing to this point here, which is what's happening here, using the structure here, of course, as rough as it can be. And then having another minor BOS here on the daily. I'll just show you guys how the chain of thought goes. It allows us to trade multiple time zones at the same time. I know one person was asking, why do I trade so many pairs? And I don't trade a lot of pairs. I just trade the most profitable and probable pairs. It doesn't really matter how many there are. It's the same process along the way. We use the same principles, same thing that we teach in our boot camp. Process driven. It's like getting into a car and going to a specific place. Doesn't matter what car is outside. The bottom line is if it has fuel, you can get there. So that's the approach that we use. And we try to use unmitigated OBs just so that when price does tap into them, it gives us an alert and we end up getting decent Rs, really decent Rs actually. Okay, I'm not finding a clean OB here. I'm not finding it. If not, I'll just drop further to the next OB, which would give us a higher R. And only then would we look at an entry. Let's on with my chart now. Okay, there we go. On the 5 minute, it's a very tight one, but it would look something like that. It's extremely tight. And then just go into the hourly with a bigger time frame. And then we'll look at something like this. And remember, this is from a daily. This is from a daily. Agreeing with the weekly. So we'd have something like that. And then it would look like that. I will look at the... I will look at NZDCHF as well. Awesome. So we'd have something like that. So that's how you'd approach it. And I'm just going to go deeper in so I can give you guys another setup within NZD/franc. And guys, most of the setup that I've done with NZD pairs, I usually get a ridiculous amount of Rs. So it is one of my favorite pairs. Okay, let's see what the 4 hours looking like. Let me move this a bit to the side. Guys, don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to like the stream. Awesome. So once you're here, looking at the 4 hour, still bearish, by the way. Extremely bearish. This wick was a bit dangerous, but still bearish. This move already happened, but we're most likely going to see drop and break the zone. If we see price breaking this level and starts to give us a bit of bullish momentum, We'll just not trade inside here, mainly because of these wicks. I'm not liking that. We'll just wait for it to get into that level there at the 65059 zone, and then tanks from there. Awesome. So let's take a look at the hourly and see what the hourly is showing us. So on the hourly, nothing there. Nothing there on the hourly. Okay, so we'll actually look at only those two setups. To be this one here, targeting the zone over here, going to the lower time frame. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find another one inside here. We probably could, looking at this area here. But remember now, when you start trading, lower time frames, especially with this type of pairs, is you need to be wary of the spread unless you are funded, of course. And if you are, then it's pretty good for you. You'll be good. Okay, so on the 15, do you have liquidity being formed here in this range? Let's see. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. No, nothing decent in here as well. Nothing decent as well. No, definitely avoid this one. Don't forget to like the stream, guys. Yeah, I would not trade this one as well. We do have a nice POS here, but now the challenge is this move probably did happen. Although let me just do this. I'm just going to show you guys why I wouldn't trade this one. It's going to be a bit too high, but you'll see how massive the stop loss range is going to be. Let's go into the 15. And then we start adjusting it a bit further. And the 5. Yep, end up having this zone here. So you'd have something like that. So your setup would look something like this. But this is my main concern because of that wick. You'd be targeting a 3R type of setup, which would be a bit, yeah, I don't like those type of setups personally. They don't give you enough room to get more pips out of it. And ideally, if you would want to take this type of setup, you'd probably go halfway of this level, half of the stop loss range, which limits your chances of it being triggered again. So you'd have something along these ranges, which would look like that. And of course, like that. And of course, follow the rules, have your alerts. Halfway, much better. Use stops, not limits, and you'd be good. So you'd have something along these ranges. There we go. Awesome. NASDAQ, yes. NAS 100 also does tend to get a bit tricky. So on the daily, just go deeper into the 4-hour actually. We do see this beautiful level over here. This you probably want to see happening in the New York Open. Let's refine it further and see what we can find in there. I'm just going to drop you guys with the lower time frame one here. Okay, so there's a clean OB to use. But remember, there's an area of interest that you must watch out for. Going to the 15. Yeah. Go further in. Okay, no, I'm going to leave it at the 15 or even the 30, which is still fine. So you'd find yourself having this type of setup. But now I'm very strict about the stop loss range that I use. So I'll probably even go halfway over this one as well, instead of having the one with the specific OB, because of the stop loss range. Just move it to the side a bit. And of course, you'll have that level to work with, targeting this bottom here. And going deeper in, looking at your lower time frames. And the reason why I do not like using lower time frames on US 100 and US 30 is because of the way this indices move. They move dramatically. They move in minor directions. And when they do, they're very aggressive. Extremely aggressive. Yeah, okay, I'll stick to that one. So you'd want to watch what happens in this zone over here. Don't know why I did that. Try and avoid, if you're going to use the approach that I was giving you guys last week, whereby once price gets into the stop loss range, you drop down to your 5-minute, 1-minute, or 15-minute. Watch what structure does to the downside and enter there. Then you can have your alert here at the entry. And if you're going to use a less risky approach where you don't adjust your stop loss range, is to have your alert at the middle, in the middle of the stop loss range. And when your alert hits, you just place a sell stop to the downside, of course, and wait for momentum to kick in, and only adjust at 1R. And what that does is a bit more, it's less specific, which means you'll probably only stick to the 6R max. But if you do go into the lower time frame when price starts getting there, you can focus on the 10 to 15, 20R max targets, sticking to this zone here at the bottom. So that's one of those pairs that you'd want to do that with. And okay. And I know one chap asked for CAD Swiss franc. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's the same approach across the board. Literally the same across the board. You want to see what the higher time frame structure is saying, because it does weigh in a lot on what you're doing. And once you've got that, you can hop into lower time frames and start looking at it from there. What's the last name? I mean, me analyzing. So it's master _ FX Shifu. I'll just write it down here. Check me out on Trading Nut, my website. So it looks like that. CAD Swiss franc, I'll take a look just now shortly. Don't forget to like the stream, guys. I see touching near Moha saying you can wait a month before the moves happen. We could. Sometimes it could happen sooner. But if you do pay attention, you'd see that we actually scroll down from the top all the way down, which means now even after the stream, if nothing does trigger, you can still follow, you can still trade some of the pairs when they trigger. So you always want to know what's happening on the higher time frames before you trade the lower time frames. And the reason for that is, let me just show you a bit of an example here. So say, for example, the daily structure looks like this. This is just a perfect example, by the way. We know the charts don't work like this. And then in the daily structure that looks like this, you are trading. Okay, let's just put something like this here. This would be your BOS, of course. And then price starts going to the top side, gradually starts going to the top side. So now if you know your daily structure and you know what's happening, and the person trading lower time frame structure starts trading in here, going bullish, because you know what the daily is saying, you would not entertain this because you know that this level will potentially hold based on structure, based on what's been happening. And you might find that in your bullish structure inside here, your bullish play, you're trading inside an order block that needs you to go downside. So this happens all over. So you can look at the daily, the 4 hour, find that this happens. You can look at the 30-minute, the 5-minute, this happens. The 5-minute, the 1 second, this happens. So always know what the higher time frame structure is telling you, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in awkward positions. Basically trading against what's the general principle to use. So let's try and take a look at it from that point. Is a probability to go down on NAS 100. I'll just take a look at it again there. Now, CAD Swiss franc. Okay, we do see this bit of change in movement. Okay, so with this one here, I wouldn't look at it now, mainly because we haven't even seen a clean break of structure yet, and we still need to do a pullback, a higher low being formed, a higher high being formed before we can look at potential buy from the zone. And if you hop onto the 4 hour, let's see. Yeah, definitely avoid for now, of course. Go to the 1 hour. Okay, so if you did look at the 1 hour, I see Sunny here is asking what's the best time frame to use. That all depends on your specific environment. I mean, if you work 9 to 5, then trading anything below the 4 hour wouldn't make sense. If you are trading every single day, you can trade your lower time frames. But with our approach, our bootcamp approach, we do look at your daily. Our daily structures, our daily zones are very important to us, especially when price approaches them. They can direct us and lead us into a specific direction for us to basically be able to take the largest pips from there. And of course, we use the 4 hour mainly to get our structure, to get our OPs and trade from those. And then we get onto the hourly. That's where we get most of our intra trades, provided they are there. If they're not there, we don't touch them. Just like this CAD Swiss franc now. If you look at this hourly structure here, hourly time frame, I mean, there's nothing happening here. So we would not touch it, not even look at it. But now, if you do understand how market structure works, just by looking at this area here, there's 5 candles here. I'm just going to show you. You're going to find structure in there. Go into the 15. Let's see what we're finding in here. Go even further. Starts becoming clearer and clearer for you. Then you start realizing that we've got a high here. We've got a BOS here. Now we've got an OB here, where price is currently going. Go into the 1 minute and unmitigated. And then you'd have a sell in this area here, targeting this low over here. And then you'd have an alert halfway in the sell. And remember, this is why you always have to confirm your trades. You don't just sell immediately when price gets here. You need to see what it does. And just based off this alone, you start seeing a whole lot of imbalances that have been left in the move to the upside. And this is literally just the 5-minute a move, whereby we still know that we have, let me just go into the hourly. We still know that there's this bigger play as well, which will affect everything that you do inside the hourly, inside the 5-minute, inside the 30-minute. So you always want to make sure of that. But let's watch this one now, so you can actually watch what it does inside that zone. And if you do get a decent entry, then we go for it. I think this is the last setup that we're looking at. So we'll just stick to it and answer some questions, because I am going to hop on into the London just now. Awesome. Okay, so price does enter your zone. And then what you need to do is watch what it does to the downside. So what you want to see now is a retracement and a level holding, which means you'll have an entry and try to keep this as your stop loss. And once you do get that, you get into the setup. So for now, we need to watch. And just, you do get these setups, by the way. So anybody who did use limit orders, they would have gotten this. But now the danger with that is it could have simply just went up first and then tanked from there. So waiting can make you miss trades, but it also can save your account. So try and always keep that in mind. Okay, if it does continue going down, we are definitely going to ignore it. But do keep your alerts there, keep them in place to see what you get from there. Okay, now we can keep an eye on it. Unfortunately, we're going to head out. Yeah, guys, hit the like buttons. Let's like the stream so we can keep growing, guys. We are still watching CAD Swiss franc. So technically what's going to happen now, this level over here is supposed to hold. Will it? We don't know, but it is. And you will get a zone like that. And this is the 1 minute, by the way. So be careful, be extremely careful. And ideally, if you are, you just keep this higher stop in play, and then just focus on these new entries here. And of course, allowing that to hold. Okay, we're not getting a clean retracement, but let's just keep watching. We need that clean retracement, guys. We really do. You can't just get into a trade aggressively. So on the 1 minute, you do see structure. We are seeing another POS just now, right here, basically. So now making this our new candle of focus. And we'll just keep watching it. If it does hit our level over here at the bottom, we're definitely getting out. We're not going to focus on it. Because remember, this is our trading range, this one over here. And you always want to get trades above this level over here, which would be these ones over here. Using this one would be a bit too tricky. You could, but it'll be very tricky because now it means you are allowing yourself to have a wider stop, which means only targeting 1R, which is not really ideal. So I would not use this candle here. I'd really want it at the top. There. I'm waiting for this trade to be invalidated or validated before I hop off the screens and go try target some good moves as well. Don't forget to like the stream, guys. We are definitely out of this one, guys. If it does happen to come into the zone, just follow the rules, follow the rules. You'll keep this level here at the top, just above it, as your stop loss. Focus on using this candle as your entry point, and of course, targeting whichever lows are going to be created from this one here, because right now, it definitely just went below, which means this is a simple missed a trade. It happens. Focus on the next one. But what it did confirm is this structure. So this is your next area of interest, which means your next stop would be something like that, based off this break of structure here, which is the one right below the previous one. And then, of course, now you're targeting these levels. You could use this one here, but it's too small. You don't want to use the smaller ones. You always want to make sure you've got a bit of room to breathe. And if you guys can see, we're using 1 minute candles. So those, if you have a broker that's giving you tighter or higher costs, then you will have a problem. So you don't want to see that happening. Awesome, guys. How long have I been trading with naked charts? Quite a while, actually. Quite a while. Stopped trading indicators probably in 2017, if not 18. I'm not sure. That's when I stopped using indicators. So there's been price action, and of course using smart money for the past couple of I think early 2021, 2020, basically incorporating smart money into naked trading. So yeah, shout out to New Zealand. Awesome, man. Guys, don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to like the stream. And you can check me out on my Telegram, YouTube, just Forex Dojo. On YouTube, you'll find me there. That's where you find my daily live streams as well. And until next week, also the website as well, guys, uniforexdojo.com. So until next week, Tuesday, I'll check you guys in. Follow this trade, guys. And the rest of the trades that we did today, just keep following them. Keep checking what they're doing. Let me just go to a higher time frame. Higher time frame. There we go. So keep watching this. The alerts in place. Gold. Gold is literally right next to our entry of the first trade. Keep watching it as well. Keep watching it as well. EURUSD. This one is a bit far, so it's going to take a bit of a minute to trigger. We are seeing CADJPY tanking now, so hopefully we'll get to the zone, but it's also a bit far. GA. So the most probable trade that could trigger today is the one that we just did now. So watch that. These ones are a bit far. US 100 also a bit far. But yeah. Happy trading, guys. Cheers.